Hello and welcome to today's weekly wind-up with me, Helen Ashcroft. Many rural bus services in England and Wales face being wiped out by council budget cuts. Campaigners have already warned us about this. Research by the Campaign for Better Transport says subsidies to routes have been reduced by £78 million since 2010, with another £27 million under threat this year. Councils say difficult decisions are being made amid government cuts. Transport Minister Andrew Jones said the government protected around £250 million worth of funding for bus services in England, provided through the Bus Service Operations Grant as part of last year's spending review. He also added, "We are also developing measures in upcoming buses bill to local authorities so that they can deliver improved bus services." Now, Peter Box, the Local Government Association's transport spokesman, stated, "Councils know how important buses are for their communities and local economies and are desperate to protect them. Instead, many across the country are reluctantly taking difficult decisions to scale back the services and review subsidised routes as a result." Now, our guest today is Adrian Bird. Hello, Adrian.
Hello, Helen.
Nice to see you here. Now, Adrian is actually from the Apprentice Finder, that's right, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah.
And if my understanding is correct, the Apprentice Finder works in Kirklees and Manchester area?
Yeah, Kirklees, Calderdale, wider West Yorkshire area and across into Greater Manchester on occasions as well.
Okay. Now, people might wonder why you're actually a guest on this show, but the reason I've asked you here today, and you've been kind enough to come along, is because we are coming up to the time when young people are taking the final exams, looking at the next career, and apprentices are actually something that employers are looking at. So do you think the cuts could affect the apprentices?
Absolutely. And given what I mentioned before about location in terms of working in the more rural areas of Kirklees and Calderdale, in comparison to working in Greater Manchester, there's a significant difference in terms of the ability for apprentices to get to work. So in the more rural areas, what you start to see is that you might have a very capable and able candidate that is ready to work, but for the fact that they can't actually get to work or get home from work.
Right, so do you have any real life examples of this? Has this actually happened to yourself in your company?
Yes, it has, yeah. There was a young lad fairly recently that was on a work trial within a business that was situated in Holmfirth.
Right.
He actually lived in Skelmanthorpe, and because of the arterial nature of the bus service, it meant for him that he needed to go into Huddersfield and then back out from Huddersfield. But the bus service from Skelmanthorpe to get him towards Huddersfield was fairly sporadic from where he lived. So it was a situation where the only feasible service was once every 2 hours, and it then took him an hour and a half to get from Skelmanthorpe to Holmfirth, which in a car is probably 10 to 15 minutes drive.
So couldn't he get a lift?
Well, no, his parents were already working themselves in other areas of the district. So for him, it's either relying on public transport, or quite often what you see with apprentices is that they have got the ambition to want to learn to drive, get a car, but until they start earning the money that they get from the apprenticeship, they can't go down the route of getting driving lessons.
So can the employer not pay for taxes?
I suppose they could do, but that's then an additional cost to the employer, which then turns what is actually quite a cost-effective solution for an employer into something that then becomes unmanageable and unworkable. Because of the cost. It then would bump the cost up to a point where the employer would then probably be better off seeking somebody that's already got more experience and can drive there under their own means. And that then disadvantages the apprentices again. Of
course, I can see that. So the apprentice that you've just mentioned, is he on his own, or does this happen in other situations as well?
No, it happens a lot, and it actually happens both ways round. So it will happen where the apprentice will struggle getting to and from work, sometimes because they live in a rural area and the service is sporadic. But the other sector that I do quite a bit of work with is hospitality. And hospitality in this area is notoriously difficult because on the one hand, we've got a wealth of fantastic country pubs that serve great food, small hotels and inns, etc.
Yeah.
But you try getting home from there after you've finished work at 11 o'clock at night. When you've finished in the kitchen, you lock the kitchen up, you can't get home.
Can they not use a bike?
I suppose they could do, yeah, but that's only really feasible in certain times of year. I do quite a bit of cycling, and I can imagine that after doing a long shift on my feet in a kitchen, I wouldn't then want to go out into, say, leaving somewhere like what used to be the Nonceras or Jacomita, and then trying to get home from there when it's blowing a gale and teeming down with rain.
However large or small your business, attracting new customers requires dedication and a lot of patience. Just like fishing, but you also need the right gear.
Rods, reels, lines, hooks, sinkers, lures,
tackle box, tackle bag, net, bait, gas gloves, clothes, boot, pocket knife, lunch.
Or you could simply advertise with KLTV. Online, grow your business and your clientele. KLTV, your vision made reality. Should have gone to KLTV.
So what about the employer then? I mean, obviously, we've spoken about the apprentice that's looking for work. What about the employer?
So from the employer side of things, if they happen to be situated in somewhere that's fairly rural, then the opposite can happen. And again, the example I gave before with the hospitality industry, they often require apprentices to work until 10:30, 11 at night. And again, aren't always in a position because their margins are tight to be able to then provide taxis home. They're reliant on the apprentice to have the ability to be able to get to and from work under their own means.
So really, it's having an impact on all ages and all generations, this?
Yes, yeah.
And we're talking about the economy turning around and businesses actually turning a different corner and growing. What impact will these buses, or could these bus cuts have on companies?
Well, on the companies, it means that it's going to make it harder for them to then get the right employees with the right skill levels into the business, even if that means training them through something like an apprenticeship scheme. So the knock-on effect of that then means that they might not be able to then provide services that their clients are looking for, which then holds back their growth and their future prosperity as well. And of course, if they're not then generating extra income, it also then affects the amount of tax that they're then going to be paying. So it actually stunts growth quite a bit.
So in your business, do you, I mean, obviously it's called the Apprentice Finder for a reason. Do you actually look at where somebody's situated and place them there? Yeah,
there is actually the Metro West Yorkshire website provides a very good journey planner. So one of the first things I'll do when I get an application in and it looks like it's a candidate that could be suitable, I'll then go onto that website and then do a door-to-door assessment, given the times of the day and evening that they might be getting to and from work, and it gives a fairly accurate picture of how long that journey is going to take.
I don't know whether or not the apprentices are actually considered when they're looking at cuts. Have you heard of anybody actually consulting, such as yourself or other organisations, with regard to young people going into employment and needing the services of public transport?
Certainly one of the questions I've always got to ask is around transport issues. So I'll have ascertained what the journey time is, and then I'll contact the candidate, and as I'm speaking to the candidate, that's when I'll then start asking about how do you intend getting to and from work.
So I can see where you're coming on that.
Yeah.
It begs the question whether or not the people that are making the cuts and making these decisions have actually thought about the apprentices and the impact that those cuts could have on those individuals and the businesses.
Yeah, possibly not. I see in other areas in and around apprenticeships that there are certain policies and decisions that are made that quite often are counterintuitive. So it wouldn't surprise me if the issue of apprentice transport has been considered in too great a depth. I think if I compare this area to somewhere like Greater Manchester now, fair enough, it's a much more densely populated area, but it has now got a very good tram system. And that's really opened my eyes to the possibilities of how effective apprentices can be for businesses in Manchester, because they've got an integrated transport system.
Which we don't have.
Which we don't have. And that is then going to hold the region back. It will probably hold Leeds back in comparison with Manchester.
Well, thank you ever so much for your time today, Adrian. I do appreciate what you've been saying. Thank you. Is your rural bus service under threat? Please let us know by email to info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter @theweeklywindup or on Facebook. That's it for today. Thank you ever so much for tuning in and watching. Goodbye.
Thank you.